Hey everybody, Ethan here, and you're on my side of the room. Today I want to tell you about the rise and fall, or the fall and rise of WHSE, the Music Warehouse. So previously I had a band, and then I didn't. So as told on my band channel, very briefly, when I was traveling to and from Chicago back in May, just the band fell apart. That's just the long and the short of it. And we were together about 9 months, and the intent was to play shows and whatnot, and we just could not get out of the rehearsal room. And various factors led to our band demise. And after that completely fell apart, it's like, well, I have to make a decision. I can either go back to the cover route and try again, or I can do originals. And what I did was I placed ads on Craigslist for both and see what caught fire, and what caught fire was the cover route, which is totally fine. Here in Orlando, we're very touristy here. And gigging opportunities are such that there will be more of them doing covers than there would be doing originals. And it's not to say that Orlando is like against original songs, whatever. It's just, it's a completely different scenario, or a different animal, as it were. And because of that, I'm kind of glad that the cover route won out. Because I really feel like WHSE is unfinished business. And to that end, I really believe in the concept. And what's nice is when I put ads up for the second time around, it attracted people who also believed in the project and understood what I was trying to do, and then they wanted to be a part of it. So I'm happy to report that yesterday, as of this filming, I did have people over. I had one returning band member, not from the original group. The original group is over, as told on the band channel. We're not getting back together. Whereas version 2, I've got a singer named Colleen, and I worked with her about a week ago one-on-one, and then more people showed up yesterday. So it was a bit of a blend of rehearsal and audition. And what I like is that I've found people who not only believe in the concept, but then bring the right attitude to the project. They've got the skills, they've got the motivation. I've made it very clear in the ad that home practice was essential, and it was really just nice that people showed up prepared. To the point where it was like I wasn't quite prepared for that level of preparedness. And so what I was used to is that we could do maybe 6 songs in a session, but X amount of them multiple times. You either try to get better takes, or we had to go over the material over and over. And this time around, it was like, well, we could do to do 2 of it if we want, but we could even just do one pass through it, just to kind of get a feel for the team chemistry. That's really what we were more looking for yesterday, was what's the team chemistry, and how's this going to work. In version 1, I had 2 female singers. Now I have 3. So vocally, we're very well covered. Plus, we have a guitar player who sings, who's male. So between the 2 of us guys and then the 3 women, I mean, that's 5 voices right there. It was just an absolute assault compared to what I had previously to work with. One thing I want to make a point of right now is I don't have ill will towards band version 1. It fell apart. In some ways it kind of had to. But it's over. I'm not going to sit here and grouse. I'm not going to sit here and play woulda, coulda, shoulda. Because I think it's kind of known, like amongst ourselves. Like whether or not anyone wants to talk about it and say anything about it, I think it's kind of understood on some psychic level. Like it just wasn't going to happen. Not with version 1. We certainly had good intentions, but it just didn't pan out. So what I notice with people who place ads, and it can be pretty egregious, I'll be honest, and the people in the comments will be very honest. Like, say if you go to Facebook to these band ads that they do on Facebook, if you dump your baggage in your ad, you're going to get feedback. It's going to be pretty obvious that there's some pretty major baggage that's being just aired out. And I don't feel like that attracts the right clientele. I mean, if you really want to succeed and you really believe in your project, then advertise for that. Don't advertise for what you don't want. That's what's called a negative goal. So just very briefly, a negative goal would be something like, what's for dinner tonight? Not chicken. Okay, what is for dinner tonight? You can't focus on what to make for dinner if you're going to say what it isn't. Eventually, you're going to have to say, all right, we're going to have steak. All right, steak. And then how are we going to do it? On the grill or in the oven or what? And you can build off of that. And so it'd be kind of like, well, who do you want in your band? No, losers. It's like, okay. That's very subjective. So what do you want? So I made sure I emphasized that. But baggage is going to creep in. So I made a very clear point of saying that home practice had to happen. And it cannot be argued with version 1 that it was an issue. It was an issue that home practice wasn't happening. And so because of that, we weren't getting the best out of the project. And in the end, we ended up missing out on gigs, and that, I think, really just killed it. And it sucks. It really sucks. But, it's over, and I've got to move on. So what I'm very happy about is how it went yesterday. So myself included, there were 4 people. So we had guitar, 2 singers, and me playing the bass and singing. What I like is we've got a lot of firepower. That's like, as the saying goes, I have bread ye know not of. So one of my singers also plays the keyboard and the guitar. My guitar player also plays the keyboard and sings, and has gig experience dating back to, well, really like the 90s, early 2000s. And so with that being the case, I've got another singer who's out of the country right now, and people are kind of intimidated by her resume coming into this. But I've made it clear we are a team. This is not about, well, how can I possibly play basketball with Michael Jordan on the team? It's like, Michael Jordan didn't win championships until he started playing as a team player. And that is fact. That takes nothing away from Michael Jordan being the greatest basketball player ever, ever, ever. He says from Chicago. But, the thing is that, all that promise and all that talent, Michael Jordan tried to win the championship kind of by himself. And I think that was almost by design. So Doug Collins does not have the distinction of being a championship coach, but Phil Jackson does. And Phil Jackson got Michael Jordan to work as a team player, and that's the critical difference. So that's my role as band leader, is I'm looking for everyone to play as a team player. So what I saw yesterday was a lot of team play. As an example, This is the joy of being in your 50s. My brain farted during one of the songs. One of the singers immediately dove in and just started singing, kind of like patching the grout. And then I just waited for that passage to finish, and I just picked it up and kept going. It's that kind of stuff I'm looking for. It doesn't mean like you'll cover up for me because I suck. That's not what I'm kind of looking for. I'm not looking for them to like, make me look better than I am, but I mean, it's a bonus. But instead, adversity really does reveal character. Sometimes people say it builds character, but it really reveals character. And with that being the case, if adversity of any kind flares up, I'm looking for what's the band going to do. Now, to their credit, band version 1 was very good about handling adversity. In the rehearsal room, as an example. So, like, a speaker would go out, or a cable would come unplugged, or whatever. It's like we would just roll with it. Someone would forget to sing or something, and then someone else would cover for it. One day the guitar player was just not available, and so we rehearsed anyway, and it came time for the guitar solo, and one of the singers vocalized a guitar solo, and that's the difference, so I'm glad that it carries over from version 1 to version 2, to have people with that kind of wherewithal and that kind of commitment to, the show must go on, basically. So, one, I'm very optimistic about the future. I'm really excited about the band I've put together now. When the smoke clears, I think it's going to be 7 people. It's like the polyphonic spree called and said, cool it with the staffing, but, whatever. If it gets the job done, I'm for it. I'm not looking to use tracks, so if we can come at it with this vocal powerhouse, or we can come at it with 2 guitars and whatnot, then absolutely, up to 3 guitars. I mean, it's just amazing, and then if I wasn't playing the bass, it'd be 4 guitars, and so just there's this wealth of possibilities, and I'm really excited about it. To kind of break down the lessons learned from last time, and just as a side note, when the band fell apart, I had to do some soul searching, and I had to do some learning about, like, well, now what? What do you do when your band breaks up? Because I've never had that happen before. And so with that being the case, someone was like, well, you now have a roadmap for what you want. You now can see clearly the path to success in ways that you couldn't before, and that is absolutely true. I say about the negative goals about what's for dinner tonight, not chicken, but that does factor in to your thinking and to your path forward, to say, okay, next time, who I want, people, like, who do you want? Well, not someone who's not available. It's like, well, if they're not available, then they're not in the band. So, keeping it real, there were times people would respond to the ad, and there was red flags that went up, about what they wouldn't do musically. Nothing wrong with that, but it's like, okay, if you've got this many caveats, this probably isn't the group for you. If you've got situations where, the best way I can put it is, when Bob has a problem with everyone, the problem isn't everyone, it's Bob. And I had that person respond to my ad. I'm not going to name names. I mean, it's just, this isn't about who answered the ad. This is about the issues that we can learn from. Because this is a learning environment is what this is. So there was a lot of like, well, I played with this band, but I quit it because I hated blah, blah, blah. And then I did this, and then I hated this because I hated blah, blah, blah. And then I got in a fight with this guy, and I got a fight with that guy, and then this woman pissed me off, so I quit. And it's like, this is not a great resume. You know, you've sent me stuff that proves to me that you can play, and that's great. But there's more to it than just playing. So the same with Michael Jordan, as an example. You know, all that talent, again, did not win championships until he was a team player. And he was an ass back in the day. I mean, on some level, he probably still is an ass on some kind of way. But, you know, he's got 6 championships, so he's kind of earned it. But the thing is, it's like, you know, I've got people in my band now that, you know, you need a nurturing environment is the deal. And coming in here with a chip on your shoulder and an extra grind and or flexing about how great you are is not a nurturing environment. You know, and certainly I appreciate talent. There's nothing wrong with that. But I have to consider many more factors. So a lot got screened out. Now, I was talking to somebody in the pursuit of all this, especially when I was trying to go down the original path, and somebody answered that ad. And he said, you know what you need to do? You need to separate the curious from the serious. And in his mind, he said, you know, you need to be ruthless. You need to just absolutely just, you know, if you see any trace of red flag, instant out. Just no. Whatever it is, it's no. And I'm more inclined to kind of give you a chance to like prove yourself. I don't want to just immediately think red flag, you know, like the slightest hint of red equals no. But I'll be honest, I got burned too. I got burned where something looked really promising and somebody really seemed like a great candidate for the band, and then it was red flag city. And it was kind of like you're in a dark tunnel and all of a sudden like there's that light, but then the light turns red and full of red flags that weren't there before. And no. So, but again, I'm not going to place an ad with a bunch of like, you know, baggage basically and a lot of red flag repellent. I think that the ad itself should kind of attract who you do want. And the people who do want to be part of that and have the right attitude and the right skills and all that are gonna gravitate to that. And that is the feedback I got from the guitar player that was here yesterday. He told me, you know, I was looking into a bunch of different bands. I was trying to get in with a cover band, and I saw your ad. And he was like, this is what I want. I want something else. Yes, it's covers, but it's a fresh take on covers. It's a new thing that Orlando doesn't have. And I want to be in on that. I'm like, then I want you in on that. This is the attitude I want. And, you know, what's funny is he was like, well, I'm a rhythm guitar player. And no, he's not. You know, I kind of called him out, I drew him out, where it's like he was better at guitar in ways that he said he wasn't. But I understand, like sometimes people, and I'm one of those people, sometimes we sell ourselves short. Like we want to take the safe route and say, oh, well, you know, I could probably shake a tambourine and like clap on 1 and 3 or something. When in reality, yes, you do have rhythm actually, and you could play the bongos or something, you know, but you know, you don't want to say you can do that. Like you don't want to step forward and put yourself out there in that kind of way and then only to be humiliated. And I completely get it. So we're going to end up with 2 guitar players just because I get it that certain stuff, it's a little too wheedly-wah. Like, okay, if that's not your skill level, then that's completely fine. We'll get somebody who is wheedly-wah who can do that. But again, the candidates I'm looking for are going to have the right attitude to the project. So anyway, I just wanted to take some time and talk about it a bit to the camera, talk about where we're at, and what's coming up. And I'm very excited about July, that We've got rehearsal scheduled with the full band. I've got a drummer in reserve. I've got a singer in reserve who's out of the country at the moment, but when she gets back, I just think we're just going to just absolutely explode. And the idea that we could be gigging by the end of the year is very real. So again, I'm hugely excited about that. So anyway, that's the deal. I just, again, wanted to check in on the channels. I hadn't really been doing it, and I do apologize, but such is life. That being said, keep learning, keep playing. I will catch you in the next video.